Grana, we bungity bong, and welcome back to my channel where we talk about all things Transformers and Transformers action figure related, and we are getting to the end of 2021, so that means that I feel quietly confident that I can start to put a couple of lists together. So this is going to be the first of a couple of lists that I'm going to do. The first list here will be the 5 worst bots that I have picked up in 2021. So this year I have reviewed a lot of bots. I think I've pretty much kept up one bot per week. Some of them released this year, some of them from other years, but what I did do this year, different to some other years I guess, is that this year I really decided I was only going to buy bots I like. I didn't feel that I needed to buy everything, I didn't need to review everything. So actually, when I put this list together of the 5 worst bots that I've reviewed this year, it was actually quite challenging. So there's probably one at least on here that could be quite controversial for people, but I have had to be really strict because this year there's been some great bots, and there's been nothing like this one where I absolutely hate it. And there we go, that's stage 1, guys. And stage 1, as we know, was trash.
This is bad comedy.
So we start in at number 5. Now, as I said, I have had to be super strict, so this is probably the controversial one for some people, but in at number 5 is Buzzworthy Bumblebee's Origin Bumblebee. I was super hyped for this, and the alt mode is what I bought it for. It's a very nice alt mode. Looks great, but this really does suffer from some QC issues, in all honesty, from Hasbro. Although it looks great from afar, when you look into it, this Cybertronian take on Bumblebee has these black lines that show off, and I was actually speaking to Russ from Toys R Us's channel. You should check out his channel, and his had exactly the same issue as well, where through the yellow you can see those black lines at the back that just ruin the finish of the whole thing. He actually said that he wrote off to Hasbro about it. I don't know if he heard anything back, but yeah, it's a fatal flaw within this product. Another challenge with this figure is, of course, those promises from Hasbro that it just doesn't live up to. And this was one of the biggest examples of this that we had all year. Like, take this black piece here. If you check it out on the box and check a look at it, it should have been silver. There was all these different elements that should have made the figure just look a little bit better. And then, of course, it didn't actually do that when you got the figure in your hands. So the back of the box didn't live up to the front, and then the bot mode, least said about the bot mode the better. It really is a little bit of a failure, this bot mode. Very square, very lazy, nice looking alt mode though, but again, that's here because of those black lines and just because of the false promises. Number 4. In at number 4 is the Shattered Glass take on Megatron. The heroic Megatron, leader of the heroic Decepticons, the laziest alt mode of 2021. I was so hyped about the Shattered Glass line, and I love most of the figures in it, but this one, oh dear. This was just pure laziness, and it's ugly. It's all about the alt mode on this one for me. It's such a super ugly alt mode, and it's so lazy. It doesn't hold together very well at all. These added pieces look okay, but again, they don't even look as good as some of the other versions that we've had of this in the past. It was very lazy, in my opinion, from Hasbro. The biggest problem that I had with this is that basically this is a reissue of Megatron from the War for Cybertron line. But this didn't actually fix some of the basic issues that this product had when it was released the first time. The foot on the original had all of these floppy issues, and this one still has the floppy foot issues that the other one did, and that could have been fixed with this reissue. So they didn't even think to do a little bit of a remold here, a little bit of a change with it. I actually think that that is the worst thing about this, the whole laziness of it from the alt mode. Alright, at least they tried, but this should have been fixed. And again, this one suffered a lot from that promises on the back of the box versus what you got. You got a cream color, which I know matches to the IDW comics, but whatever, versus the kind of more silver, more premium look that you should have got if you looked at the back of the box. Hasbro, why can't you just do what you say on the back of the box? Number 3. In at number 3 is the Studio Series take on Starscream from the Bumblebee movie. I was super hyped for this figure, and it was actually the first Studio Series that I'd ever picked up, and my belief, as it was at the time, I know that's the wrong belief now, was that this was supposed to be more premium. The Studio Series was a higher premium line, basically, in my thoughts, was like one underneath Masterpiece, so I was expecting a lot from this figure, and then when I got it, it just did not deliver. The first thing that I noticed about it was the rubber nose cone, which I'm so disappointed that they gone back to. I don't know if they were trying to call back to the 80s figures here, which I guess they could have been, but no, you and I both know that give it a few years, that nose cone is going to be bent, it's not going to work properly, it's going to look absolutely horrific. So that was my first kind of inkling that something just wasn't going to be right with this. Then, of course, comes those wings, and those wings on this one look fantastic, but for the transformation you need to turn said wings, do things with said wings, and you're supposed to be able to pose said wings. My wings on mine fall off at the slightest opportunity. You pick it up, it'll ping off across the room, you move it slightly, then it will come out of its socket, and it's just not usable as a figure. You know, you can't pose it. When it's in the bot mode, it does exactly the same thing, pings across the room, moves all over the place, and you have to move it as part of the transformation, and anything that kind of pops off and breaks because of the transformation, it's just not good. Also, like when you're in the bot mode as well, it doesn't feel like it holds together very well. It's very gappy around the chest area. I was very, very let down by this figure. Number 2. In at number 2 is the biggest wasted opportunity that we saw in 2021. This was Maverick. Oh, where do we even start? Okay, let's start at the alt mode. The alt mode, actually, I will say looks good. And I did say that during the review as well, that the alt mode here looks pretty good. If you're a plane enthusiast, I can imagine that you think that this is a very, very nice alt mode with some interesting packaging. Runway, nice. But then we get to the actual figure itself. First of all, these missiles that seem to be glued together with this plastic piece in the middle that just looks so cheap, so bad. Like, how are those missiles going to fire? Why are you giving us 2 missiles that look like they're kind of held together in the air? The articulation on the wings was good, and I actually liked the paint deco on this as well. That kind of subtle light camo worked very, very well. So apart from the fact that the missiles here looked absolutely awful, and everything was quite loose on this as well. When you put it in, it was very, very loose. Apart from those things, it started off okay, shall we say. But then we get to the bot mode, and the bot mode is trash. The bot mode has a nice head sculpt. That's it. Everything else is loose, ugly, gappy, thin, horrible, looks out of proportion. There's nothing I can say that is good, and in fact I think I was a little bit nicer during the review than I feel about it now. This is why this is at number 2. When I was looking back at the reviews I've done this year, as soon as I saw this, I almost recoiled in horror, as if I had blanked this review from my memory. I put this on my shelf and I do not think I've touched this figure since my review. I mean, if you look back at my reviews, I've not used it for anything else. No comparisons, no nothing. It is an ugly, ugly, ugly figure with an okay alt mode, but the bot mode is one of the worst I believe Hasbro has ever come with, and it's also about the fact that it's such a missed opportunity. Even the accessories that are kind of clever, which was this missile, this boring looking missile that turns into a gun, as soon as you try to open it up into the gun mode, it actually pops out a little bit out of the joint and doesn't connect together very well. Again, very loose. This is such a missed opportunity, this figure. When you put it up against something like Ectotron, you look at the quality of the crossovers that we've had in the past, that to this, wow. Number 1! In at number 1, who else could it be other than LOCKE? X-TRANSBOTS LOCKE. Yep. It could not be any other figure from 2021 than this figure. This was an absolute pile of trash. This was an awful, awful figure. Badly conceived, badly created. I have never ever had a figure that falls apart in your hand just like a flake chocolate. This thing actually fell apart on me as I was trying to transform it. The leg broke off, bits broke off, straight out of the box. When you picked it up, it felt rickety. That's the best way to describe it. Everything felt loose. The pegs didn't hold in together correctly. The paint felt off somehow. Very powdery. The hands themselves didn't actually tab into the hand holes. They fell out whenever you moved something. The backpack had this little tab that should have gone in, but definitely did not connect in the way that it was supposed to. And that was just the bot mode. It was absolutely horrific. The foot was completely loose on one side. It just moved whenever it wanted to. It was just an absolute nightmare. Very similar to Megatron, I guess, from the original War for Cybertron line. The little figures that it came with were painted terribly. You could see finger and thumbprints on them, and in some places had no paint. And that was before we even get to the transformation itself, which left mine looking like it had been destroyed by the octopus and needed Hot Rod to come and fix him. Fix me! But nobody was going to fix this figure. Even, I have to say, the version 2 that they sent out, they did repair it by sending everybody a free version 2, so I got a free version 2. Okay, fine. It's still a nightmare to transform. It's overly complicated. Did it fall apart when I did it? No. Did it fix the issues with this one? Some of them. And I definitely want to applaud X-TRANSBOTS for trying to course correct on this one, but I think it was definitely too little too late. And to be fair, I think that their reaction to the figure being absolutely this bad means that there was a huge failure of QC on their side that has changed my mind about them as a supplier of Transformers for my collection. They were my number 1. Now, I barely even touch them. So those were my top 5 Trashformers for 2021. I'm happy to say this was actually quite a difficult lineup to do. We've had a really great year for Transformers, so it fills me with hope for 2022, and I have my top 5 Transformers from 2021 coming up very soon, certainly before the end of the year. Thank you all for your support over this year. Do you agree with these 5? Are there some that I missed? Let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you in my next video. Alright guys, in a bit. Peace!